My name is Meerah, and I'm a Lorekeeper in one of Yogg-Sothoth's libraries, and today I wanted to talk about the Sandworms from the Dune books and movies. Dune was written in 1963 and published in 1965 by Frank Herbert, and he would go on to write a total of 6 books for the Dune saga. Dune would be made into a movie in 1984 and again in 2021. And if everything goes well, today the part 2 of the remake comes out, so I hope everyone gets to go and see it and enjoy it. Herbert based his sandworms on the dragons of mythology, such as Beowulf and Jason and the Argonauts. Or at the very least, he based the worms' personalities on the dragons from such stories, in that the worms are very territorial and appear to attack anything that attempts to harvest spice. It should be noted here, though, that that's a misconception. The worms don't guard spice. It's a waste material to them. The process in which spice is made involves the fungal excretions of the sand trout, which is the larval form of sandworms, combined with water and intense pressure and heat to form the spice melange. Spice is a narcotic used by the indigenous Fremen in their food and rituals, but for the rest of the universe it aided in the development of a spacefaring empire of trade, commerce, and technological advancement. Indeed, space travel would not be possible without spice, as it is used to help navigators guide their ships through fold space. Fold space is, from how I understand it, basically like a wormhole. Anyway, about those worms. To the Fremen, they are called Shai-Hulud.
I serve only one master. His name is Shai-Hulud.
And they are the dominant life form on the planet Arrakis. Sandworms begin their life cycle as a sand trout. Sand trout are created when a sexually mature female worm, which is estimated to be in the 1,000-year age range, develops an egg sac and builds her nest. She does this by lifting a portion of her body up into the air and then slamming it into the ground repeatedly until she has carved or hollowed out a suitable hole for her nest. This repetitive, loud thumping noise calls a sexually mature male worm to her. Male worms mature at around 1,100 years of age. Once he has arrived, the male will then devour the female worm and take a nap in the nest for several weeks. During this time, fertilization of the egg sac that the female was carrying occurs within the male worm. Once this is done, the male will deposit the egg sac into the nest where the sand trout will burst from it. The sand trout then go on a long 1,050-year journey of metamorphosis, water scavenging, and fusion to become an adult sandworm. Sandworms are actually made up of many individual sand trout which join together to form the segments of the worm. An adult worm may have between 100 and 400 segments. Adult sandworms can grow up to 450 meters long, that we know of. Due to them living most of their lives deep beneath the sands of Arrakis, studying them in their adult form is difficult, to say the least. It is believed by some that the worms could grow up to 1,000 meters in length. Their lifespan is that of thousands of years. Their bodies are covered in tough, nearly impenetrable scales. Sandworms have a diet of mostly sand. Much like how a whale sifts seawater for krill and plankton, sandworms seem to do the same, but with sand. Adult sandworms are water averse to the point that any amount of water that enters a sandworm's body will result in a violent and painful death for the poor worm. The sandworm is an autotroph, which is an organism that is capable of converting something inorganic into something organic. The large-scale consumption of sand and the friction of traveling through the desert dunes would lead to the production of methane, propane, butane, ethane, formic acid, acetic acid, propionic acid, butyric acid, butyric acid, and oxygen. As there are no plants left on Arrakis, the oxygen created by the sandworm is essential for the continuation of life on the planet. The inner workings of a sandworm is less like a creature with like organs and insides and more like a furnace, reaching temperatures between 900 to 1250 Celsius or 1650 and 2300 Fahrenheit. The friction from worm travel and the subsequent breaching from the sand would cause dry lightning to appear in the areas where a sandworm would emerge. Sandworms are also said to have a very distinct smell, being described as strong and cinnamon-like, and often so pungent that you could smell a worm before you saw it. As mentioned before, they're very territorial, and one male worm may have a territory of up to 400 square kilometers. When two males come upon each other, they would roar at each other in a challenge. If one worm would not concede and leave, then the two would fight, pulling at each other's scales until one worm was irritated or uncomfortable enough to leave. Worms rarely, or maybe never, fought to the death. The Fremen people of Arrakis have a very special and sacred relationship with the sandworm. As mentioned before, they use the spice in their rituals and religion. Fremen also consume so much spice that it has turned their eyes, whites and all, a haunting blue color. They regard the sandworms as the physical incarnation of their god, which they call Shai-Hulud, or the Maker.
Bless the Maker and his water. Bless the coming and going of him. May his passage cleanse the world and keep the world for his people.
Shai-Hulud is said to loosely translate to Old Father Eternity or Grandfather of the Desert. Sand trouts and young sandworms were often also used by the Fremen in special ceremonies, and riding an adult sandworm was regarded as a rite of passage for any Fremen. Usually they ride their first worm around the age of 12. They could call a sandworm using a device called a thumper, which mimics the same rhythmic noises a female worm makes while creating her nest. Sandworms have a scaly outer armor, and when one such scale is pulled back, sand can be allowed to enter and irritate the worm. As a result, the worm will roll until that exposed scale is at the highest point, the farthest away from the sand while it's traveling, to avoid irritation. The Fremen would use maker hooks to help pull back a scale, hold onto it, and control the worm's direction while riding. So long as they kept that scale open, the worm would not dive beneath the sand, and they could ride it until it became exhausted. In this way, they developed worm riding, which was the main form of transportation to the Fremen, so much so that distances were actually measured in worms. The Fremen also used the teeth of the sandworm as sacred weapons. Indeed, the sandworm was a vital part of their culture and to all life on Arrakis. This is a super short summary about the sandworms of Arrakis from the Dune franchise. This is not everything, all the little details about them. I just tried to make it as concise as I could. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you next time here in the library. Bye!